My name is Emily Carter, and what I am about to share changed everything I thought I knew about life, prayer, and reality itself. Before that day, I was what you might call a lukewarm believer, someone who acknowledged faith but kept it at arm's length. I attended church occasionally, prayed sporadically, mostly when I needed something, and went about my days with a quiet assumption that life would always follow a predictable rhythm. But on the morning of October 12, 2023, everything changed. That day started like any other. The sky was brushed with the soft golden hues of autumn, and the air carried that crispness that signaled the approach of winter. I was on my usual route to work at St. Mary's Medical Center in Denver, Colorado, where I worked as a respiratory therapist. My coffee sat warm in the cup holder, filling my car with a familiar scent of roasted beans. The roads were peaceful, a slight mist rising from the asphalt as the sun peeked over the horizon. I remember my mind drifting between thoughts about my patients, especially little Tommy, a 7-year-old boy in the pediatric ward battling severe asthma. He had these bright green eyes, always filled with questions, and a courage far beyond his years. He was improving, but I couldn't shake the feeling that I needed to check on him first thing when I arrived. I never saw the truck coming. The impact was instant, a violent crushing force. A deafening explosion of metal, glass, and weight. Everything turned black. A light so brilliant, so all-consuming, that it erased the wreckage, the pain, the chaos of impact. I didn't feel my body being thrown. I didn't hear the screech of tires, the desperate voices calling for help. Instead, there was silence. Absolute, endless silence. And in that silence, something else emerged, peace. A peace so deep that it felt like I had been removed from everything that had ever troubled me. Every worry, every moment of doubt, every struggle I had ever faced simply dissolved. I was floating, weightless, but not in the way one imagines floating in water. It was as if I existed outside of gravity, beyond the confines of the physical world. Then I saw it. A vast, shimmering veil stretched before me, moving like liquid gold. It wasn't solid, yet it felt more real than anything I had ever touched. Threads of light wove together, forming something intricate, alive. A tapestry so vast that I couldn't see its beginning or end. I took a step, or at least I moved. There was no ground beneath me, yet I moved forward effortlessly, drawn toward the veil. As I neared, something became clear. This was no ordinary light. The threads pulsed, shifted, vibrated. And within them, I began to see something. Prayers. Countless, endless prayers. They weren't just words or whispered thoughts. They were tangible streams of energy, flowing, intertwining, reaching toward something greater. Some glowed with fierce intensity, sharp and determined, like beams cutting through the universe. Others were softer, gentler, like waves caressing the shore. I felt them move through me, around me, within me. And then a presence. Not a voice in the way we understand voices. Not sound, but a knowing. A direct infusion of understanding into my very being. You have been chosen to witness this. The presence was not human, yet it was familiar. It carried a warmth, a wisdom, something both ancient and infinite. It did not introduce itself with a name, but I knew. It was Gabriel. The name filled me not as a sound, but as an absolute truth. Come and see. With a single motion of his light-infused form, the tapestry of prayers expanded before me, stretching into infinity. And I saw something that changed me forever. The prayers were not random. They were not empty wishes sent into the void. They were alive, active, and they were shaping reality in ways I had never imagined. Special message for you. If you've made it this far, I have something very special for you. In our next video, I'll be sending a personal message to those who comment their name and city below. Imagine hearing your name spoken, being part of this incredible community, and receiving a blessing for your life. So go ahead, leave a comment with your name and city, give this video a like, and join us in this journey of revelation. You are not here by accident. You are part of something greater. See you in the next chapter. The realization struck me like a thunderclap. I was no longer in the world I had known. The hospital, my patients, my life. They all felt like a distant memory, as though I had stepped through an unseen doorway into a place beyond time. Gabriel stood beside me, radiant yet without form. His presence a fusion of light and understanding. He did not speak in words, yet his thoughts poured into me like a river. Crystal clear, undeniable. You must see. You must understand. Before I could even formulate a question, my vision shifted. The tapestry of prayers that had once stretched before me now moved, folding and unraveling in intricate patterns. And through it, like peering through the layers of a great celestial veil, I saw Earth, not just as a planet, not as the blue and green sphere floating in space as I had always imagined it, but as it truly was in the spiritual realm. Threads of light wove around it, some shining brightly, others dim, tangled, struggling to break through. These threads connected to people, millions, billions of people, each thread representing a prayer, a hope, a cry sent out into the unknown. Some shone with the brilliance of 1,000 suns, unwavering and powerful. Others flickered like candlelight in the wind, weak and uncertain. And then I saw my own thread. It was interwoven with countless others, a thread of my life, my prayers, my moments of doubt and faith. But more than that, I saw how it connected to people I had never met, places I had never been, moments that had yet to happen. Everything is connected. Gabriel's voice resonated within me. I tried to comprehend it, the enormity of it all. But the truth was too vast, too overwhelming. And yet, at the same time, it made sense. Prayer was not just an action, it was a force. A living, breathing energy that did not vanish into the void, but instead wove itself into the very fabric of existence. I turned to Gabriel, my thoughts racing. But why am I seeing this? Why me? Gabriel's presence pulsed with something I can only describe as certainty. Because you have forgotten. And now you must remember. The words had barely settled into my consciousness before the vision before me shifted again. The threads of prayer began to merge, gathering into something immense. A vast, pulsing sphere of light, floating just beyond Earth's atmosphere. It was alive, humming with power. And as I watched, I saw it react. Faith. To doubt. To the cries of those who prayed with true conviction. And those who whispered prayers in fear, in desperation, uncertain if they would be heard. And then the darkness came. It did not sweep in like a storm. It was not a sudden, violent force. It was something far worse. It was subtle. Crept in through doubt. Through hopelessness. Through those who had given up, who had lost faith, whose prayers had grown silent. It unraveled the weaker threads, dissolving them before my eyes. And as it did, I saw the effects. Lives untouched, miracles that could have happened but didn't, moments where divine intervention had been possible, but the connection had been lost. Gasp. No, this isn't right. This isn't how it's supposed to be. Gabriel turned toward me, his form shifting slightly, glowing brighter. Then remember, Emily. Remember the power you have always had. And with those words, something changed within me. I felt a pull, a deep magnetic force dragging me backward, away from the vision, away from the celestial realm. The light dimmed. The vastness of the universe began to collapse around me. And then, nothing. Silence. A deafening, endless silence. But the story was far from over. The silence was absolute. A void stretching into eternity. No sound, no movement. Only a weightless sensation, as if I were suspended between existence and oblivion. I should have felt fear. But I didn't. Instead, I was aware, more aware than I had ever been before. I was no longer confined to the limits of my physical body, yet I still existed. My thoughts were sharp, my senses heightened. And then, just as suddenly as the silence had swallowed me, a new sensation emerged. A pull. Not violent, not forceful. It was gentle, yet undeniable. Quiet beckoning. I turned, or rather I shifted, drawn toward the source of the pull. And before me, something unfolded. A space unlike anything I had ever imagined. It was not heaven, at least not in the way I had been taught to envision it. There were no pearly gates, no golden streets. Instead, it was a place of pure, infinite presence. It was everywhere and nowhere all at once. The very fabric of this realm pulsed with light, not a light that shone, but a light that lived. It moved, vibrated, whispered with a voice I couldn't yet understand. And then I felt them. Souls. Countless, immeasurable souls, moving like stars in an endless sky. Each one glowing with its own essence, its own story. Some were brilliant, radiant, burning with a warmth that filled the very air around them. Others were dim, flickering, their light fragile, as if struggling to hold on. I watched, transfixed. "You are in the space between," came the familiar voice. Gabriel was there, though he did not appear as a figure. He was simply present, as though the very air around me had taken on his voice. "You are standing at the threshold, the place between life and eternity. You have been brought here so you may see, and so you may choose." Choose. The word barely formed in my mind before understanding flooded me. I had died, at least by human definition. My body, my physical self, was no longer functioning. Yet I was still conscious, aware, alive in a way I had never felt before. And now I was being given a choice. "Many arrive here lost," Gabriel continued, "confused, bound by the weight of the life they left behind. But you have been brought here for a reason." I turned my gaze back toward the endless expanse of souls, and suddenly, I understood what I was seeing. Some of these souls were moving on, flowing toward something greater, a presence that I could not see yet I could feel. It was like the gravity of a great star, pulling them toward a love so immense it could not be contained in words. Others, however, lingered, not by force, not by punishment, but by choice. Some hesitated out of fear of the unknown, fear of judgment, fear of leaving behind unfinished stories. Others clung to their old lives, tethered by regrets, unspoken words, unresolved pain. And then there were those whose light was fading, whose essence trembled with doubt, sorrow, or hopelessness. These were the ones who had forgotten how to call out, whose prayers had ceased. "They do not realize that they still have power," Gabriel said, his voice infused with something that felt like both sorrow and hope. "They do not see that prayer is not bound to the living. It is not confined to a mortal body. It is the language of the soul, the connection that bridges all things." As he spoke, I saw it, the threads of prayer stretching toward those who lingered, those who hesitated, those who feared. Some were thin and fragile, struggling to reach their intended souls. Others were strong, unbreakable, pulling lost spirits toward the light. And then something else. Some souls, those whose lights were dimming, had almost no threads reaching for them at all. No prayers, no voices calling their names. They were alone. I felt a wave of deep sorrow. Not my own, but something much larger. A sorrow that existed beyond me, beyond Gabriel, beyond anything I had ever known. "Do you see?" Gabriel asked. "Do you understand?" Tears burned in my eyes, though I had no body to cry with. "Yes," I whispered. "I see." And in that moment, I realized the choice I was being given was no small decision. It was not simply about life or death. It was about something far, far greater. And as the light around me shifted once more, I knew this was only the beginning. The light around me shifted, folding and unfolding in ways I couldn't comprehend. The boundary between what I had known and what I was now witnessing felt thinner than a breath. I was being shown something profound, something that had been hidden from my understanding for my entire life. Gabriel's presence was unwavering beside me. His words no longer spoken but etched into my very being. "Look beyond what your eyes have known. See the fabric of what is." And then I saw, not through my human eyes but through something deeper, something limitless. The vast web of prayer and energy that surrounded Earth was no longer a distant vision. I was inside it. Threads of light stretched and wove together, pulsing and shifting, a celestial river of intention and faith. And at the center of it all, a great force. It was neither a figure nor a place, but a presence. The source, the origin, the creator. No words could describe it. No thought could encapsulate it. It was the beginning and the end, the breath that sustains all things. It was power beyond measure, love beyond comprehension. I wanted to move toward it, to lose myself in the vastness of it. Every part of me yearned to be absorbed into the light, to become one with the infinite. But then something pulled me back. Not violently, not forcefully, but with purpose. Not yet. Gabriel's voice echoed within me, steady and sure. There is more to see. And suddenly, the light fractured, giving way to something else. A veil, thick, dark, pulsing with a different kind of energy. It stretched across the expanse, standing between the divine realm and the earthly world. But the veil was not impenetrable. Shifted, moved, responding to the power of prayer. I watched in awe as prayers of faith cut through the darkness, breaking holes in the veil, allowing divine light to reach the world below. Some prayers were like flames, burning with intensity, opening great passages of light. Others were gentle streams, weaving steadily through the veil, carrying whispers of hope and healing. But then I saw something heartbreaking. There were prayers that never reached the other side. They flickered, dimmed, and faded before they could break through. Some collapsed under the weight of doubt, dissolving before they could manifest. Others wavered, sent half-heartedly, lacking true conviction. And some prayers simply never came at all. The sight of it filled me with a sorrow so deep it ached. Why? I asked, my voice barely a whisper in the vastness. Because they do not believe, Gabriel answered, his voice carrying the weight of eternity. Because they have forgotten the power within them. I looked closer. The veil was weakened where faith was strong, thickened where doubt prevailed. Where people joined in collective prayer, great passages of light tore through the darkness, reaching the world below. But where belief was lost, where prayers ceased, the veil grew denser, blocking the divine flow. Understood now. Prayer was not just asking for something, it was an act of creation, a force that shaped reality. And the world below. It was desperate for those who would break through the veil. Gabriel turned to me, and I felt his words before they were spoken. You must carry this truth back with you. My heart clenched. Back. For the first time since entering this realm, I realized what it meant. This was not my time. I was being sent back. I wasn't ready. I wanted to stay, to learn more, to fully immerse myself in the divine presence. But deep within me I knew my purpose was not yet complete. And as the veil rippled before me, as the light and shadow danced in their eternal battle, I felt myself beginning to fall. Back toward the world I had known. Back toward the life I had left behind. But everything would be different now. Everything. Special invitation for you. Now I want to hear from you. Drop a comment below with your name and your city. And in the next video, I'll be sending a special shout out just for you. Imagine hearing your name called out, being part of this incredible community, and receiving a blessing in front of thousands of people. So don't miss out. Comment below, leave a like, and stay with us for the next chapter of this journey. You're not here by accident. Your presence means something. And together we are part of something much, much bigger. The moment I understood what was happening, a force beyond my comprehension pulled me backward. The divine light, the great veil, the celestial expanse, all of it began to blur, stretching into something I could no longer grasp. The warmth that had enveloped me, the feeling of complete understanding, began to fade. I was being pulled away from the infinite. And for the first time since crossing into this realm, a feeling of deep sorrow filled me. I had tasted something beyond life, something beyond time itself, and now I was leaving it. It is not yet time. Gabriel's voice resonated one final time. Not as a farewell, not as a goodbye, but as a certainty. My purpose was not yet complete. And then, fell. Not like a fall from a building, not like a drop through space, but a descent through dimensions. The further I drifted, the more I felt the weight of my earthly self returning. The pull of gravity. The dull, distant ache of a body that should have been broken. The faint hum of voices. Muffled, frantic, desperate. And then pain. A flood of sensation crashed into me all at once. I gasped, air rushing back into my lungs, my chest rising sharply as though I had been submerged underwater and only now had broken the surface. The world around me was a blur of chaos. Blinding lights overhead. The sharp smell of antiseptic and burned metal. Distant shouts. Hands pressing down on me. The rhythmic beeping of machines. I was back. A voice broke through the haze. Urgent, trembling. She's stabilizing. Oh my God, she's stabilizing. Get the doctor in here now. I tried to speak, but my lips wouldn't form the words. My body felt heavy, foreign, as though I was wearing a suit of armor I had long since outgrown. But I was alive. Somehow, against all logic, I was alive. The memory of what I had seen, what I had witnessed, was still etched in my mind, clearer than the reality around me. It hadn't been a dream. It hadn't been a hallucination. It had been real. More real than anything I had ever known. I tried to move, to lift my hand, but a voice cut through my struggle. Emily! My head turned weakly. And there, standing beside my hospital bed, was my mother. Tears streamed down her face, her hands clutching at her chest as if she couldn't believe what she was seeing. Behind her, a doctor stood in stunned silence, his clipboard lowered, his expression unreadable. The room was silent, save for the beeping of the heart monitor beside me. I could see it in their eyes. They had expected me to die. And yet, here I was. I inhaled shakily, the weight of my return pressing down on me. But something inside me had shifted forever. I had not just survived. I had been sent back with a purpose. And now I needed to find out why. The days after I woke up were a blur of medical examinations, whispered conversations, and the disbelieving stares of doctors who had no explanation for my survival. They had told my family to prepare for the worst. The damage to my body from the crash had been catastrophic. My heart had stopped. My brain had been without oxygen for too long. Even if I did wake up, they had warned, I would likely suffer irreversible brain damage. But none of that happened. I was awake. I was fully aware. And within me burned a truth that no medical report could explain. I had seen beyond the veil. I had stood in the space between life and eternity. I had witnessed the fabric of reality, the way prayer intertwined with existence itself. I had been sent back, not by accident, not by chance, but for a purpose. Yet, as I lay in that hospital bed, surrounded by machines and hushed voices, a deep restlessness settled in my soul. I had been given knowledge, but what was I meant to do with it? One evening, as the hospital grew quiet, my mother sat by my bedside, holding my hand as she had done every night since I woke up. She had been my anchor through all of this, never leaving my side, always watching over me. And yet, even as she smiled, I could see the weight of unspoken questions in her eyes. "Emily," she whispered, brushing a strand of hair from my face. "You should not be here right now. The doctors said." She trailed off, shaking her head. "They said it was impossible. But you came back." I swallowed hard. She wasn't just talking about survival. She knew, she could sense, that something beyond medicine had happened. Tears welled in her eyes. "I prayed for you. Every single day I prayed." Her voice broke. "Did you hear me?" My breath caught in my throat. Yes, I had. I had seen her prayers, not just as words whispered into the darkness, but as streams of golden light, piercing through the veil, reaching me even in the space beyond life. I squeezed her hand. "Mom," I whispered. "I heard every single one." Her face crumpled as sobs escaped her lips, and for the first time since waking up, I let my own tears fall freely. 'Cause I finally understood. Prayer is not just asking for something. It is the force that moves mountains, that shifts realities. It is a bridge between the seen and the unseen, the finite and the infinite. And if the world had forgotten that truth, then maybe, just maybe, I had been sent back to remind them. Be part of this journey. If this message has touched your heart, then I invite you to be part of our community. We don't make any money from these videos. We do this because we truly believe in this message. And your support means everything. So if you feel called to, please like this video and subscribe to our channel. It's a small action, but it makes a huge difference. Together we can reach more people, share more truth, and continue this journey of faith, discovery, and divine connection. You are not here by accident. You are meant to be part of this. The day I left the hospital, the world felt different. It wasn't that the streets had changed, or that the sky was a different shade of blue. It was me. I had walked out of that building with the weight of something far greater than survival. I carried a message. I had seen the threads of prayer, the power of faith woven into the very fabric of reality. I had been shown the veil, the force that separated the divine from the earthly, and how it could be pierced by those who truly believed. And now I was here, live, with a mission. At first I didn't know where to start. How do you explain the infinite? How do you tell people that prayer is not just words, not just a desperate plea into the void, but a force that shapes existence itself? But then I remembered something Gabriel had told me. You will be a witness. That was all I had to do. Not convince, not argue, just witness. So I began to speak. To my family, to my friends, to anyone who would listen. I told them what I had seen. I described the threads of light, the prayers that reached through the darkness, the souls who were saved by the faith of those who had never stopped believing. Some listened with wide eyes and trembling hands. Others smiled politely, nodding but not truly hearing. And then there were those who felt it. People whose own prayers had once felt unheard. People who had lost faith. People who had stopped believing that their words carried power. They were the ones who, when I spoke, recognized the truth in my voice. Because deep down we all remember. We all know that prayer is more than just a ritual. We all feel the unseen. We just need to be reminded. Weeks passed, then months. I found myself drawn to places I never expected. Churches, hospitals, small gatherings of people who had lost hope. I prayed differently now. Not as a request, but as a declaration of faith, as an act of co-creation with God. And I watched as things changed. I saw miracles, though not always in the way people imagined. Sometimes they were big, undeniable moments. Healings, reconciliations, divine interventions that defied all logic. Other times they were small but profound. A mother who found the strength to keep going, a lost soul who felt peace for the first time in years, a prayer that was no longer empty but alive. And as I stood among these moments, I understood why I had been sent back. Not to perform miracles, not to become someone extraordinary, but to remind people that they were never alone, that their prayers matter, that faith moves the unseen. 'Cause it does. I had seen it with my own eyes. And now so would they. Your journey doesn't end here. What you just heard is only the beginning. There is so much more waiting for you, and I have something truly revealing to share in the next video. All you need to do is click the video appearing on your screen right now. It may be exactly what you need to hear today. And before you go, don't forget to leave a like and comment, Amen, below. When you do, you are claiming a blessing over your life, and trust me, blessings have a way of finding those who believe. I'll see you in the next video. You are not alone. You are part of something greater.